Well, Dee, this is very unique. Here I am coming to talk to you about your gardens, but we're at somebody else's house and your gardens are here.
We are. It started out with me growing flowers, cut flowers in my own front garden. And then I had a neighbor who saw me out there and asked what I was doing and offered up his own growing space. And then I put out a call for additional space about a year later when I needed to expand. And there were people who were happy to jump on the bandwagon and not have to cut grass because I would be out there, growing cut flowers and maintaining them.
That's awesome. So what type of flowers do you grow? Because, this is a beautiful space. It came with all these hydrangeas, I'm assuming.
It did. So I grow all types of things. We have a really long growing season here. So it starts with hellebores in the early spring, anemones, ranunculus, kind of bulbs and corms, and we'll continue through late fall with lots of native plants, things that are great for pollinators. I say anything is up for being cut as long as it does well in a vase. So a variety of things.
That's fantastic. How do you choose the plants you're going to grow?
So I grew a lot of native plants. Norfolk is ground zero for climate change. We're a coastal town. And I wanted to do things that would help mitigate some of the nuisance flooding that I had in my neighborhood and also at my property. And so that was my first selection for natives, for things that did well for pollinators. I had moved from Virginia Beach where I saw goldfinches, for instance, and I wasn't seeing them. And so I wanted to attract them and started kind of doing some research to see what do they like? Okay, well, they like echinacea, they like coneflower, they love the sunflowers, they eat the seed heads. And I like to say the garden is some for me and the flower business and some for all the various pollinators that we have here.
So you've embraced, I'll say, sustainability theory of growing some for you, but yet leaving a lot for the wildlife as well.
For sure. It's part of not just my business model, but part of my life. And so that was really important to me to make sure I incorporated that into my work as well and be able to use it as a teaching and education tool.
That's fantastic. But here now we have a garden in full sun and raised beds, quite opposite of the natural garden that we just walked through.
So this is production garden here. It's a little bit different than the more naturalistic plantings. And this is year 2, so it's a little bit, still a trial and error experiment. Some things are doing really well here, like the mountain mint is covered in pollinators now.
Always a favorite.
Ageratum is doing well. I've got coneflower here. There is heavy pest pressure with adorable bunnies, raccoons, birds that leave shells and all kinds of things. And I'm going to add more allium next year.
Excellent.
I try to concentrate on the health of the soil and choosing plants that do well without a lot of input from me necessarily, without a lot of water, which is why native plants make a great choice again. I try to stagger planting, so there are lots of things that you can grow. For mums, for instance, take several plantings and you can have them grow throughout the seasons. But it's also pretty easy to find native plants that bloom from pretty early in the year or two. Here we're lucky enough to have a season that goes until October or November, depending on the weather.
Well, how many locations do you have, Dee?
So I'm growing actively in 4 different plots right now. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, depending on the year and what the needs are for the business, but that's where I am right now.
I imagine there's different soil types at those locations, so how do you handle that?
I tend to bring in and build up soil. There's a farmer here who has really amazing compost and soil with biochar, and so rather than trying to, do soil tests and kind of go back in and, make changes to the soil, I tend to build up, which is another reason that I tend to do raised beds. It's a little more controlled that way, as much as we can control anything that's in the environment.
Yes, exactly. What kind of mulches do you use?
Actually, strawberries.
Really?
Because it's...
You're not saying the strawberry itself.
But yeah. So strawberry plants, they're evergreen here. They are low growing. They will keep the soil cool. So they are one of my favorite mulches to use. I also like to overcrowd plants as another technique to, rather than, having to worry about pulling weeds, which we're all going to have weeds, but if I can minimize the number of weeds I'm going to have. That's a good way to do so.
Let the plant shade the soil
Right.
by being so tight
Yes,
together.
and
Yes.
that's a good way to do that. I really try not to fight against what's already existing or what we see when we look at, meadows or natural planting areas, how
Right.
they exist. It's not a traditional farm in that there are, rows of different things that are in barrier cloth and, we need to pick the weeds out of them, etc.
So you do drifts of things and allow them to weave
Yes.
together.
Yes. And that's also great for pollinators. I plant stuff specifically for them. Like I grow fennel, and cilantro and milkweed. I like to interplant those with the things I'm growing so I can cut some things for me and then hopefully they'll direct their energy towards those things they might enjoy a little more than the plants that I have for production.
Well, Dee, I noticed that you also have a succession of bloom here. You have things that have bloomed and things that have yet to bloom in this garden.
Yeah, so I think about the garden, as a whole year calendar. So flowers that go from early spring, February through, November, October or November. I stagger planting so that there's always something in bloom.
Yeah, and that's wonderful for pollinators because we forget about our spring and fall pollinators. So
For
it's
sure.
excellent to have that, but it's good for your business. So
Yeah.
you've got quite a fun business too.
Yeah, so I have a Floral CSA subscription that goes from spring to fall. I also do farmers market that starts in April, so of course you need blooms for that. And then I
Yes.
do workshops, seasonal workshops, different themes. For instance, like in March, there was a Dutch Masters theme because that's when you have, the tulips,
the tulips and such.
anemones, etc.
Yes.
that we think of. And then I have a summer blooms one upcoming, and we'll have dahlias and sunflowers, and then of course all the cool natives. I do a native floral arranging workshop. So there's always something to cut and to learn and to share. I really take a holistic approach to the garden. It's not just about the two-legged creatures here. There are lots of flora and
Yes.
fauna, and I want this to be a garden where I can share with the creatures that are existing, and I'm not trying to get rid of them or push them away. Rather, I welcome them in the pollinator garden. I know how important it is. We just had the monarch butterfly make a comeback off the endangered list, and so we see how important it is for people to be out here and doing things that support
Yes.
their habits.
And our actions make a difference.
For sure.
And even our lack of action makes a difference.
Definitely. Yeah.
So thank you. Thank you for sharing this and thank you for having us out.
Thank you for coming.